Shock and sadness at UW-Platteville's campus. I'm Armand Rama, and I spoke to students about how they feel 24 hours after yesterday's deadly incident.
And we're continuing to track showers and maybe a few thunderstorms on this Alert Day Tuesday. How much more rain we could see before it wraps up in the full forecast.
And later, new driving regulations in Rock County. How Janesville police are trying to crack down on cruising in the city. And we welcome you to News 3 Now at 6. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Eric Franke.
And I'm Sarah Carlson.
We begin with breaking news tonight with the very latest from UW-Platteville. This after the deaths of 2 students during that incident at Wilgus Hall on campus Monday afternoon.
In just the last 20 minutes, we learned more details about the incident. For more, let's go live to Armand Rahman, who is live at the UW-Platteville campus.
That's right, Eric and Sarah. In just the last few minutes, the UW-Platteville Police Department and the State Department of Criminal Investigation released new findings as to how the 2 22-year-old girls died last night. And as we read from that right now, according to law enforcement, 22-year-old Kelsey Martin was found with a gunshot wound in her dorm here at Wilgus Hall, where she was assistant resident director. She was transported to the hospital and med-flighted to the hospital, where she was pronounced dead. Meanwhile, the other girl, 22-year-old Hallie Helms of Baraboo, was found dead by a self-inflicted gunshot wound in the dorm here at Wilgus Hall. And based on preliminary findings and in this part of the investigation, they say there is no other subjects that they believe are involved at this time. Meanwhile, today I spoke to 2 students who say that the shock of this is hitting very close to home to them.
Just never would have expected it to happen in Platteville.
24 hours later, and high emotions still run through UW-Platteville's campus.
Still a bit in shock. I'm a bit numb. Sure, it's going to come crashing down on me in a couple of days.
24 hours later, and wounds are still fresh for Alexander Cleaver and Andrew Himmelman.
We knew Kelsey. She was someone we graduated with in high school, so we've known each other for a long time.
The 2 went to high school in Beloit with 22-year-old Kelsey Martin, one of the 2 students who campus officials say died in that isolated incident.
I took a couple classes with her in high school. I saw her once or twice on campus and said hi, but very sad and shocking to hear.
Martin had just graduated from Platteville with a degree in psychology.
Super good person, so it's horrible of anyone. It never should have been anyone.
The other student that died, 22-year-old Hallie Helms of Baraboo. She had just graduated Platteville with a degree in early education.
We're a really strong community, and I feel like most people here know each other. It's just kind of hard. It's sad.
Now, UW-Platteville Police is still investigating this incident. They're asking anyone with information to contact them. Also, University Counseling will be offering walk-in urgent sessions with a counselor for the rest of the week from 8 to 4 p.m., as well as a toll-free emotional support hotline. For now, reporting live on UW-Platteville's campus, Armand Rama, News 3 Now.
Armand, thank you. Our next story today, the weather out there, an alert day for heavy rain, strong winds still in effect. Let's check your forecast. Meteorologist Blaze Keller live on our Madison weather patio. Blaze.
Yeah, the winds are beginning to pick up as we kick off the 6 o'clock hour. Rain has stopped at least here on the southwest side of Madison, but radar 3000 showing that it's only a matter of time before that rain moves back in. Let's take it in across southern Wisconsin to some of these showers. Maybe even a few rumbles of thunder off towards Belleville and Monticello, back into Dodgeville, south into Darlington. More of that consistent soaking rain marked by the dark greens, as well as the yellows. Heavier showers and maybe a few rumbles of thunder south of Stoughton into Evansville. Fitchburg, a little shower over us, back into Cross Plains as well. As I mentioned here on the southwestern side of Madison, we're dry, but all that rain to our south, that's eventually going to be moving northwards. And that's where we're going to take radar 3000 to Lake Wisconsin, Poinette, north into Portage, where we're also dealing with some of that shower activity. Already, we've picked up about an inch or so across southern Wisconsin, marked by the dark blue, light blue, and purple. That's where we break into that half an inch to an inch mark. So over the last 24 hours, we've picked up a lot of beneficial rain. And as we continue to go throughout the rest of this evening, you're seeing it on Future Track here. We're going to be dealing with these showers, especially north of Madison into the Dells, Juneau, Adams County. You're seeing it there. That's where most of that shower activity is going to be this evening. And then that's going to move its way southwards throughout Wednesday. So we are going to talk about some drier conditions and some cool temperatures to round out this week when we finally feel like summer again in the full forecast.
All right, thank you, Blaze. The search for a missing boater is suspended for the day due to the weather. On Friday, a sailboat tied to a kayak turned over in the middle of Lake Monona. One person drifted to shore on that boat, while 3 others stayed in the kayak. 2 of those people were rescued, but the third, who wasn't wearing a life jacket, went missing. Crews began searching at about 8 o'clock Friday night for the missing boater in what is now a recovery mission. The Dane County Sheriff's Office says the search will continue tomorrow or Thursday, depending on the weather.
Well, a man connected to a deadly stabbing at a Fitchburg bar is now charged. Rodney Golden, accused of first-degree intentional homicide. During a court appearance today, a judge set Golden's bond at $1 million. If convicted, he faces up to life in prison. It was back on May 6th. Fitchburg police were sent to Monkey Shine's Bar and Grill at about 1 in the morning for reports of a disturbance in the parking lot. There, they found those involved had already left. Later, 39-year-old Myron Dunlap checked in to a hospital with life-threatening stab wounds where he later died. Golden was later arrested at a home in Sun Prairie. Police say they later found a rifle and nearly 500 grams of fentanyl at that home.
Monona police say they arrested 2 boys ages 12 and 14 after they stole a vehicle and led officers on a chase last night. This started about 11:30 when officers spotted a vehicle driving without taillights on Monona Drive. They tried to stop them, but the driver sped off. After a while, officers decided to call that chase off. But in the meantime, another officer heading to help with the search was nearly T-boned by that vehicle at Atwood Avenue and Elmside Boulevard. And that's where the driver swerved off the road and hit a tree. The driver and passenger ran away, but were taken into custody. A 12-year-old boy from Sun Prairie was identified as the driver, a 14-year-old Madison boy the passenger. Officers say the 12-year-old had also been arrested 2 days prior for stealing a separate car.
Police in Janesville have long been trying to curb the act of cruising the city's streets. They say driving on Milton Avenue is not necessarily bad in and of itself, but it's the associated noise complaints, disorderly conduct calls, fights, and more that have all led to more restrictions.
Our Kyle Pozorski is interviewing a sergeant with the force about an updated ordinance and how they're looking to enforce it.
So as we're looking out over Milton Ave in Janesville, obviously, explain to me in the simplest way, what is cruising?
Cruising is where a motor vehicle drives past a traffic control point within the designated area more than 2 times between the hours of 7 p.m. and 5 a.m.
And has cruising been an issue in Janesville?
Cruising has been an issue in Janesville for several years. It started downtown. They created the ordinance to cover that area, that designated area. However, everyone has moved up here. I've been here for 12 years, and it's been an issue for my entire career, and talking to some of the people that have been here longer, it was an issue prior to my time.
Explain, how are you guys actually going to be enforcing this?
So for right now, it's going to be officer witnessed. Basically, an officer would pick again, a control point along the designated area, and it's very easy to pick out the vehicles that are driving. There's other ways that we're thinking in the future. They're just not here yet of how we may be able to enforce it, but right now it's going to be officer witnessed. We either as a team, we have an officer that just sits in a spot and calls out the vehicle to other officers that are ready to make the traffic stops. Basically, you get pulled over by the officer, and a citation may be issued. Again, we still have discretion as police officers, but the expectation is there to kind of use this early and often, and then the person would receive a citation and the court process would take place.
Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And that was Kyle Pozorski. Thank you. The updated ordinance also now allows police to impound or tow cars that are not registered, as well as vehicles that are used by reckless drivers.
Nurses at Unity Point Health, Merritt and Madison will go on strike starting next Tuesday after contract negotiations failed to yield a new deal. A spokesperson for the union representing the nurses says the healthcare provider has not made the changes needed to secure a new contract. SEIU Wisconsin gave the hospital a 10-day notice earlier this month that almost 1,000 nurses would join the strike. A hospital spokesperson said at the time that the strike was set to last through June 1st and that hospital leadership respected the nurses' rights. The next scheduled bargaining date is set for May 26th.
Well, there's a new sandwich shop in downtown Madison. Donato is located at 106 South Webster Street on the back end of the Divino building. According to one of the owners, Donato is a product of COVID and having outgrown the Divino kitchen. This new shop offers sandwiches, take and bake meals, and other to-go oriented items. items. The business can also make office box lunches, party trays, and other prepared dishes. Plus, everything is available to order online.
Well, tonight the Milwaukee Brewers will host the Baltimore Orioles. You can watch it on television. Wisconsin first pitch is tonight 6:40 p.m. Logan Henderson starting for the Crew. Keegan Aiken will take the mound for Baltimore. The Brewers beat the Orioles last night 5-4 and will look to win the series tonight.
Coming up next on News 3 Now at 6, Justice Rebecca Bradley has a challenger for her state Supreme Court seat.
After the break, we'll introduce you to the judge throwing her hat into the ring and the platform she plans to run on.
You're watching News 3 Now at 6.
Well, we are a little more than 10 months out from the next election in Wisconsin, but we already have one candidate announcing they're in the race.
A political reporter Will Keneally sat down with her today, and he joins us with more.
We're talking here about another seat on the state Supreme Court that will be on the ballot next April. Now, this judge, Chris Taylor, may be a familiar face to voters here in Madison. She used to represent downtown Madison in the state assembly. Now, since leaving, she served as a Dane County judge and now in the state's appellate court system. Now, she launched her campaign today for the state Supreme Court.
Those are the values that I bring to the state Supreme Court, and that is why I'm running to be the next justice.
It's this idea of values that Judge Chris Taylor talked up when she's describing her run for the state's high court. She's taking on incumbent Justice Rebecca Bradley, running for a second 10-year term.
Voters are going to see that we have very different values. Justice Rebecca Bradley has been outspoken in criticizing the accessibility of reproductive health care, including contraception. My history is advocating for women and families.
The Wisconsin Supreme Court is poised to determine the future of abortion in Wisconsin. Before she was an elected Democrat in the state assembly, Taylor served as the public policy director for Planned Parenthood of Wisconsin. She says, though, her rulings don't reflect that.
I did spend a significant part of my legal career making sure that I was emphasizing those values. Those are values that I have. However, as a judge, I am not a policymaker. I'm not an advocate.
Reporting in Madison, Will Keneally, News 3 Now.
Now, we could expect next year's Supreme Court election to break records again in terms of money and national attention. That election will be held next April 7th. Well, still ahead, a century-old shipwreck found at the bottom of Lake Michigan.
Plus, some big changes are coming to people's Social Security benefits. Who may be receiving more and why might some be having some of their money withheld?
And Blaze returns, a complete look at when we can expect temperatures to bounce back up a bit. Stay with us. Americans are set to see major changes to their Social Security benefits. Those changes impact about 2.8 million retired teachers, firefighters, police, and some federal workers who receive a public pension that didn't withhold Social Security tax.
It's not every single one of them, but these folks could see increases of what they say is maybe a few dollars a month to up to $1,000 a month in a benefit change. So this is a real game changer for a lot of those folks who did not actually pay into the Social Security system. Just to know, you don't have to do anything. The government will actually inform you, and you might even just see it in your check coming through.
Now, for retirees who have been getting back more money from the Social Security system in overpayments, the Trump administration will now withhold 50% of their benefits until that money is repaid. More than 72 million Americans receive Social Security benefits.
Now, check this one out today. A 100-year-old piece of history was discovered in Lake Michigan. An avid fisherman spotted the wreckage of the J.C. Ames, the ship sitting just 9 feet below the surface. The Wisconsin Historical Society says the vessel was constructed back in 1881 to haul lumber. Now, this photo from 1910 shows the boat in action crossing underneath a bridge in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Now, the J.C. Ames, they say, was deliberately sunk in 1923 off the coast of Manitowoc, where it remained for more than a century before being rediscovered. Pretty cool stuff. Well, we're tracking lots of rain out there. There's Blaze with the full forecast for us. It's kind of nasty out today.
It is. Some much needed rain, but yeah, temperature-wise, it wasn't exactly great to be outside. Those winds whipping at about 20 to 30, maybe upwards of 35 miles per hour also wasn't ideal outdoor conditions. And those rainy conditions are going to continue as we head overnight. Low pressure is slowly moving its way eastward, but this same low, and I'll touch on it in just a few minutes, is actually going to continue to keep us on the cooler side until the middle of next next week. Wednesday, that rain is slowly going to end from north to south. As we go throughout the day, a high pressure system moves on in. That dries us out, but we still remain on the cooler side as we go throughout your upcoming weekend. Future track showing a lot more of that heavier rain activity north of Madison, even north of the Dells, and then that will slowly push its way off towards the south out of central and northern Wisconsin as we go throughout the rest of your Wednesday. A few lingering showers could carry over into early Thursday morning, but that high pressure system is very quickly going to dry us out and clear out the cloud cover so that we'll see more sunshine as we look to end the work week and go into your Memorial Day weekend. Now, what's happening big picture wise, that low pressure system is continuing to slide its way eastward. It's really hugging northern Illinois. That puts us in that prime position to get a lot of this rain over the last 24 hours, overnight, and throughout your Wednesday. High pressure to our north is fighting with this same low pressure system, which is why it's been so windy over the last day, and while it will continue to be windy into Thursday as well. But notice by noon, we're already drying out, maybe a spotty shower off across southeastern Wisconsin. But that high pressure system is going to be continuing to keep us on the drier side as we go throughout Friday. Winds should start to die down as we go into the weekend. Seeing some sun on Sunday as well, on Friday, because of that same high pressure system. But notice our temperatures really don't change here until we go into the middle of the following work week. And the reason is because of this low pressure system that's moving through right now. What's happening is there's another big low off across northeastern parts of the United States. This low pressure system is going to essentially join it and continue to pull down cooler air. So where is it going to be warming up instead? Along the Rocky Mountains. So we have to take their cold air and move it overhead. So that's why we're going to stay cooler, why we keep underneath these greens and even these light blues as we go throughout your weekend. But eventually, that big area of low pressure across the northeast, it scoots off into the Atlantic, and those oranges indicating the warmer temperatures, they'll start to move on in. You saw that just a graphic ago, and you'll see it here in the 7 and 10 day forecast. We jump from the mid 60s into those low to mid 70s once all of this breaks down. So it's kind of early spring, maybe even fall like weather here through the end of the week. A dry weekend though, so that is some good news. Memorial Day, still tracking some stray showers possible, but I wouldn't cancel any outdoor plans. And then those 70s, they return by Wednesday.
Oh, we can't wait.
I know, it's been dreary today.
But a nice weekend, too, that we have to look forward to.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Thank you, Blaze.
Well, like we said last night, we have the Brewers game tonight at our sister station, by the way. Thank goodness they have a roof on that building.
Thank goodness they have a roof. And speaking of not being pretty, John Tonje, very good at basketball. Coming up in sports, not so much with the baseball. How his first pitch went in the Windy City. That's next on News 3 Now. One of the best to ever lace up the skates at Wisconsin is calling it a career after the Winter Olympics in February. The games will be Hillary Knight's 5th and final time representing the United States. And the former Badger has done a lot of winning on the world stage. She's an Olympic champion, a 3-time silver medalist, and has 10 women's world titles to her name. It's been a very busy time to be John Tonje. The first-team All-Big Ten guard showcased his skills at the NBA Draft Combine last week, but he hasn't only been preparing for next month's draft. The projected second-round pick also tried a different sport. Tonje was in Chicago throwing out the first pitch before the White Sox game, and we know he's a sharpshooter on the court, but he might want to tweak that form on the mound if he wants to bring the heat. The NFL League meetings are underway in Minneapolis, and there are 2 big proposals on the table, with one getting the okay today. Players will be allowed to play flag football in the 2028 Olympic Games. The other? Well, the Packers' proposal to ban the tush push. Now, in order for it to pass, the league must receive approval from 24 of the 32 owners. Back in April, teams were split 16-4 and 16 against on whether to ban it. Madison College baseball earned the 5 seed in their World Series bracket. The Wolfpack will open up with the Falcons of Lackawanna College out of Scranton, Pennsylvania. First pitch is set for 1 o'clock on Saturday in Oklahoma. Madison College is 23-26 all-time at the JUCO World Series. And after last night's 4-hit, 2 RBI performance from William Contreras, The Brewers will look to win the series tonight with the Orioles and win their third straight game. Remember, you can watch it on television in Wisconsin. The first pitch is coming up at 6:40.
Just moments away. And coming up tonight on News 3 Now at 10, a Janesville mom is on a mission to support young adults struggling with suicidal thoughts after losing her own daughter to suicide last year. What she says needs to change to get more young people the help they need. Again, that story tonight. Join us for News 3 Now at 10.
And now we have a final look at the forecast. It's been nasty today, but I guess we're getting used to it.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely needed the rain. It's feeling more like we just started spring than getting closer to June. But there's a look at Radar 3000. If you're going to head out over the next hour or so, definitely take that umbrella. You can track out the showers with our First Warn weather app. Drier for the second half of the week.
All right. Thank you, Blaze.
Thanks for joining us for News 3.